Hello and welcome to an India Today special broadcast that comes to you from the strife-torn Ukrainian capital Kiev. I'm Gaurav Sawant. This is day 43 of the Russia-Ukraine war. And on day 43, all eyes are on the Russian President Vladimir Putin. The US and the West, in an attempt to impose heavier sanctions on Russia, the ruling elite and their families have announced sanctions on President Putin's two daughters and on Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov's wife, along with certain other leaders, military, diplomatic and civil, in Russia. Over the course of the next half hour, we get you details not just of the sanctions, but what the West is thinking and what Russia intends to do, especially with intensification of operations towards the south and the east of Ukraine.
The US is now hitting Putin where it hurts most. An economic squeeze on his family through sanctions on his daughters Maria and Katrina is the latest American move to punish the Russian president. Putin's family lives far away from the limelight, maintaining a very low, almost secretive lifestyle. The US believes that a lot of Putin's wealth is hidden among his family members and oligarch friends. Putin's daughters have been kept out of public view, but here's what's known about them. Maria Putina and Katrina Tikhonova are in their mid-30s. Both are Putin's daughters from his first wife, Lyudmila Shrebneva. Maria is the Russian president's older daughter. She is the co-owner of Nomenko, a company involved in Russia's largest private investment healthcare project, and is reported to be a specialist in rare diseases in children. She married a Dutch businessman, but it is unknown if they are still together. Putin's second daughter Katrina was once an acrobatic dancer and competed in rock and roll acrobatic dance contests for years. In 2020, she was appointed to run an artificial intelligence institute at Moscow State University. She currently heads the Innopraktika development initiative funded by oligarchs who are part of Putin's inner circle. The new set of sanctions by the US also target the wife and daughter of Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov. US sanctions Russia again. Ban on new investment in Russia. Sanctions on banks. Sanctions on critical major state-owned enterprises. Sanctions on Russian government officials and family members. Not only the US, UK has announced further sanctions against 8 oligarchs and the Russian banks in which their money is stashed. What's very clear is that the call for sanctions are getting personally close to Putin. Bureau Report, India Today.
So Russian President Vladimir Putin has been in power since the year 2000. He's an ex-KGB spy. We'll tell you more about him. But have sanctions worked so far? It's day 43 of the conflict. All indications are that Russia continues to bash on regardless, especially towards the south and the east. More so in the east, in the Donbass region, in Donetsk and in Luhansk. Have sanctions worked? Clearly not, given the fact that Russia, it's not just their missiles and rockets and aircraft that continue to target the Donbass region, Mariupol. They're also targeting Kharkiv, so much so that the Ukrainian government has asked people to evacuate Mariupol and Kharkiv as quickly as possible, fearing a big Russian assault. So the Russian president may be bogged down. He's clearly not out.
It's been a week for Vladimir Putin, labeled a war criminal by the United States, called a terrorist madman by the country he has invaded, saddled with history's most crippling sanctions against Russia, and bogged down in a war that has no visible exit route. Cloistered in the Kremlin and his home near Moscow, Vladimir Putin, however, is showing no signs of losing steam. His missiles and bombs are still crashing into Ukrainian neighborhoods. And despite losing as many as 6 senior generals in this ongoing war, Putin doesn't appear to be militarily or even politically fatigued.
For now, Ukraine in a very precarious situation. The unpredictability of what's going to happen next is palpable when it comes to conversations we have on either side. But the Russian side very clear that there can be no NATO expansion into Ukraine.
His ruthless persona continues to radiate out from Moscow, signaling a typically grim determination to reach his stated objectives. As Russia's longest-serving leader after Joseph Stalin, world leaders wonder if Vladimir Putin has finally landed himself and his country on the path of economic, political, and military doom.
We understand that Putin has crossed the last red line. He is now compared to Hitler of 21st century.
For a superpower leader who has stayed in power for nearly a quarter century and managed to establish Russia as a true world power, has Putin's famed psychological ruthlessness been derailed by a war where there doesn't appear to be a dignified exit? Or is the world about to witness Vladimir Putin's famous will to overwhelm, digesting the losses, casting aside the sanctions, and showing a terrifying appetite for damage to his military and reputation? Is Putin about to signal to the world that he will finish what he started? Is he signaling, in fact, that the West has betrayed those they made promises to? A month is up in an invasion that Putin had smirked and indicated would be over in the blink of an eye. What Putin does next means everything, not just for Ukraine, but for the most intriguing Russian leader of our time. With Geeta Mohan in Moscow, Bureau Report, India Today.
In Russia, he's popular, he's seen as pragmatic, he's also seen as very polarizing. Vladimir Putin, born in 1952 in St. Petersburg, what was known as Leningrad earlier. Now, his father was a factory foreman. His father had served in the Second World War. His family had seen extreme poverty, even starvation. But many say that is what made Putin the man that he is. He has the appetite to take punishment. He also has the appetite to give punishment. And once he makes up his mind, he ensures that he achieves that aim. He has been in power practically for over 2 decades plus. 1999 was when he became Prime Minister of Yeltsin, then President in 2000, and remains President even in 2022.
Putin has been called by many names, and now Moscow's undisputed leader has the world's attention. Some even have taken interest in Putin's childhood to understand his present actions. While his past will not justify his present, it's worth having a look into and understanding who Putin really is. Born in 1952 in Leningrad, which is now called St. Petersburg, his childhood was rife with hardship. His city then was under a long Nazi siege during World War II that killed most of the population. The siege has been termed genocide and is described as the world's most destructive siege of a city. His father had taken part in World War II and was wounded badly. Putin's mother, on the other hand, did odd jobs and had almost died of starvation during the Nazi siege of Leningrad. Putin's family had a room in a rundown apartment shared with 2 other families. So there was always scarcity of hot water, food, and little or no heat in their room. While his parents worked, he would be left with another family or on his own. He was left to look out for himself even when he was bullied in the neighborhood. So his childhood saw food insecurity, bullying, shelter issue, wartime, and even parental trauma. But he luckily found mentors, learned judo, and got a law degree. And that would lead up to his first job in the Russian government when he joined Soviet Union's main security agency, KGB, before entering the Kremlin. Experts say that Putin's childhood dictated his personality. Moreover, he was culturally and psychologically married to the idea of Soviet Union, which stopped existing. One US secretary once said that when she met Putin, she found him to be unemotional and cold. And if you look back at figures like Nazi Germany's Adolf Hitler and Soviet Union's Joseph Stalin, they all had childhood trauma that is often linked back to their actions by historians. Now, let me draw your focus to his announcement that he made before invading Ukraine. Let's have a look at these two words, denazify and demilitarize, because these two words have been used by him to somewhat explain to the world why he is invading Ukraine. And now link that to his childhood trauma of living under military hell, bullying and war trauma. In his mind, he is the victim here, and he is defending himself as he is threatened by Ukraine.
Now, the Russian President Vladimir Putin knows about hardship. He also knows about struggle. He joined the KGB, is an expert black belt in judo. He learnt German. He learnt English, speaks both languages very fluently, was a part of counterintelligence first in KGB, then he went on to head the FSB. He understands the mind of the adversary. That is exactly what he was tasked to do in counterintelligence, to know what's happening in the enemy's mind. Is that what he's doing even now on ground? Let's tell you a little more about the Russian President, Vladimir Putin.
In 2012, as he entered Kremlin as the President of Russia, Vladimir V. Putin was walking in once again to continue his rule over Russia. Despite allegations of electoral fraud, Putin was taking over the helms for the third time.
As I fulfill the duties of the President of the Russian Federation,
the journey has been remarkable. From a young spy in the Soviet era to becoming one of the most powerful and feared leaders in the world. No one could have imagined that the breakup of the Soviet Union would create and concentrate so much power into the hands of one person. It is almost as if a Tsar has been reborn in Russia. In 1952, security guard Vladimir Putin and Maria Shalomova had a son. They named him Vladimir, son of Vladimir Putin. Vladimir Vladimirovich grew up in a communal housing on Baskov Lane in St. Petersburg, then called Leningrad. An average student with no remarkable achievement to remember him by, the young Putin finished schooling and went to college to study law. The young boy who had first wanted to be a pilot, then a sailor, got swayed by the idealism of the times, and in 1975 joined the Komishet Gosudar Steni Bezopasnosti, or USSR's main security agency, the KGB. It was here that the real talents of Putin got to be recognized. Within months of joining, he was transferred to be trained in the elite counterintelligence division. In 1985, Putin was posted to the KGB headquarters in Dresden, East Germany. A posting that lasted till those heady days of 1990 when the Berlin Wall came down and the German Democratic Republic imploded in the wake of German unification. Putin was there at his KGB headquarters facing a mob when he realized that retaliation of the olden days was no longer possible because Moscow had gone silent. From the front line in East Germany, Putin saw how one after another the centrally planned economies of Eastern Europe staggered to disintegration. Out in St. Petersburg, he saw Russia's troubled early transition to a free market democratic system. Lieutenant Colonel Vladimir Putin of the KGB retired in 1991 and made his way back to Leningrad. The future looked bleak as the Soviet Union came crashing down. Putin considered himself lucky when he found work at Leningrad University. He was planning to do his PhD. But Putin soon found himself involved in politics and administration as the now renamed St. Petersburg began to reorient itself in post-Soviet Russian Federation. In 1996, Putin moved to Moscow, to the center of political power. In the next 3 years, his rise was phenomenal as he worked his way through the intrigues and plotting at the heart of Russian presidency. He was soon noticed by Boris Yeltsin, the president of Russia, and the man credited with having struck the final nail in the coffin of the USSR. In early 1997, President Boris Yeltsin appointed Putin Deputy Chief of Presidential Staff. By 1998, he was the director of FSB, Federal Security Services, KGB's new age successor. A year later, when President Boris Yeltsin sacked the government, he replaced his prime minister with Vladimir Putin.
So he worked extensively in the KGB, went on to head the FSB, knows a thing or two about counterintelligence and fighting the war, including in the enemy's mind. That is what he did in counterintelligence. He was deployed extensively to know what's happening in then East Germany and, of course, parts of Western Europe too. But he's learnt a couple of lessons, especially about secrecy and not staying at one place for too long. Not many know where he stays. Does he stay at some presidential palace? Does he stay, for example, the American president lives in White House. Where does the Russian president live? Many argue he changes his house very frequently because he doesn't trust many people.
Strongman, autocrat, aggressor. Vladimir Vladimirovich Putin, the man in a global spotlight, and not for the right reasons. Putin under a global glare since he ordered his troops to launch a ruthless invasion of Ukraine on the 22nd of February. The world curious to know the man behind the tough guy image and his secretive yet super luxurious lifestyle. Certainly one of the most powerful men in the world, but also one of the richest, Putin lives life king-size. Unlike other presidents, Putin does not live in a government building. Instead, travels among several of his luxury properties in the swankiest neighborhoods of Russia. Putin's most famous and confirmed property near Moscow is the Novo Ogaryovo, constructed in the first half of the 1950s on the foundation of a 19th century villa. The Russian leader has hosted famous world leaders here, including Barack Obama in 2009. 1,600 kilometers from Moscow, the Russian president is a proud owner of a summer house in Sochi, the famous Black Sea resort city. The villa, named Bochara Vruche, is located very close to the coast. In 2008, former US President George Bush visited Putin in this house for a summit amidst Moscow-Washington tensions. Another of Putin's prized possessions is an official accommodation, Valdai, located in the Novgorod region. When Putin inherited the highest office, he also received the right to use this super swanky residence. Although Putin does not live in St. Petersburg, he earns Konstantin Palace in the city, a property often used for state events like the G8 and G20 summits. Putin skips the palatial confines of the Kremlin, which have served as official residences of past Russian leaders since centuries. He occasionally drops in to visit these historic office complexes using motorcades or helicopters. But for everything else, Putin lives on his own terms. Bureau Report, India Today.
So there is this very carefully crafted image about the Russian president. He's seen as a strongman. He's a black belt judo expert. He's good at martial arts. He's good at physical fitness, goes out hunting, rides horseback, bareback, all of that, yes. But what's his life like? Now, we're also told he's a coffee lover, has a sweet tooth, interacts very extensively only with those he's very close to. Let's tell you a little more about a very enigmatic Russian president, Vladimir Putin.
The man who has the world on the edge at the moment. A total night owl, stays up late till wee hours of morning. A news report recently indicated that the man is the sharpest at night. His daily routine is extensive though. A known stickler for schedules, he starts late. That gets followed by a morning press briefing and lots of exercise. His breakfast is laid out at noon. Yes, not AM, but PM. Fruit juice, eggs, porridge reportedly are his preferred choice of breakfast. After which, he's a coffee man and likes a cup of coffee. After this, he heads for a swim and gets a lot in order mentally while swimming. And the fitness freak lifts weights straight after that. Then, of course, it's time to suit up and head to work. His ensemble quite evidently consists of pieces from the house of Valentino, Brioni and Kaitan. Russian media reports show how the man begins this afternoon at work getting briefed on intelligence, foreign affairs and what's making headlines around the world. While he never accepts food that's not approved by Kremlin, he loves ice cream. Russian media reports indicate how pistachio is his favorite flavor, and he even gifted Xi Jinping his favorite ice cream tub during a G20 summit. On Sundays, he goes praying and making confessions. We wonder what he's praying these days, given his ghastly offensive on Ukraine. Ice hockey is a sport he plays with much passion. When not swimming or playing ice hockey, or even for that matter waging a war against Ukraine, he does spend time with dogs. Buffy is his dog, and a black Labrador called Coney are his pets. Well, if toxic masculinism had a shining example, could it probably be Vladimir Putin? Bureau Report, India Today.
It's also argued that there are several people who want to eliminate the Russian president, and that is why those protecting him are perhaps in the eye of the world's attention at all times. Who actually protects the Russian president? What kind of a team protects the Russian president? India Today now gets you this report on the president and his bodyguards.
All eyes are on Putin as he wages war against Ukraine and by proxy with the West. And it's no secret that most of them are not friendly gazes, which means that Kremlin will do whatever it takes to protect its president. In fact, international security expert Will Geddes has said that there is a £1 million bounty on Putin's head, which means protecting President Putin becomes Kremlin's top priority. How tight is their security protocol and who protects Putin? Let's have a look at President Putin's entourage of bodyguards. Putin's bodyguards are seen with high-powered pistols to bulletproof briefcases. So, Putin's tight-knit security won't be entertaining any such attempts which could harm him. Putin is armored to his teeth and can thwart assassination attempts on his life. His personal security is the best staffed and best trained team in the country. Let's have a look at how his security operates. Before any of his public appearances, the team would analyze all possible threats, criminal activity, social unrest, image perception, and even the possibility of natural disasters. Preparation starts a month before Putin's visit. His security team would coordinate their security schedule with the local authorities and check for tactically secure accommodation. Everything to the last doorknob is repaired so that no technicians or repairmen would need to access his living quarters. Jammers are installed to block radio detonation signals to the president's location. Smartphones in his proximity are also tapped by the surveillance team to control suspicious activity. Now coming to his bodyguards, a special unit of the Russian Federal Security Service is assigned for president's personal security. There are eligibility criteria to be Putin's bodyguard. They must have operational psychology to anticipate and prevent threats not noticed by others. They must be younger than 35 and weigh between 75 to 90 kgs and have a height between 175 to 190 centimeters. The guards should also have high stamina. They must also understand foreign languages and also be proficient in politics. Putin's bodyguards are specially trained to have higher stamina, sustain cold weather and not sweat in heat. Some say that they use medicines to enhance their physiological process. Their work is so demanding that the longest Putin's bodyguard can stay on the job until 35 years only. When in action, Putin's security guards are loosely organized in 4 circles. The closest circle has his personal bodyguards with a earpiece in their ear and a suitcase. And they look menacing. Not just menacing, they're also ready to jump in action. One can also notice that their hands are always in front of the body with the left hand often raised halfway. This is a compulsory requirement. The guard must always be in an alert position. The reason for this position is to shield the president with their bodies. The suitcases these bodyguards are often spotted with are actually protective shields. They use a 9mm Gurza pistol which can shoot up to 40 bullets per minute. However, if a shootout occurs, that means the security team has failed. Any attacks should be above all prevented beforehand.
Well, that is all that we have time for on this special broadcast from Kyiv, Ukraine on day 43 of the Russia-Ukraine conflict. Many thanks for watching.